Jumping! I do apologise. At the end of the last video, when we did the movement, I said that we would be doing like the camera following the player in this video, but actually I'm going to show you jumping first, and that'll be our next video. Anyway, back to it. So we added a script to our player in the last video, and it was a really simple enough script, just making the character move from in the right direction at whatever speed we want it to be. So if I just press play to kind of show that again, it will move to the right hand side at that particular speed there. But like I said, at this stage, nothing else happens. Right, what we're going to do, we're going to get it. So when we press spacebar, this character is going to jump up off the floor, but I'm actually going to change the speed so it's a little bit slower so we can actually play around with the jumping side of things. So back on our movement script, so on our player, we've got this movement script set up. You can double click it there or double click it there and it will load up. And we're just adding a couple of lines in. So bear with me a second, because like I said to you before, I'm not actually going to be typing this stuff in. I'm actually just going to copy and paste it. That's for you to type it in yourself. But I'm going to put this there. And then once we've got everything in, I'll then explain what's going on. So let's bring across this if statement as well. And that's going in our update area here. Right, so script-wise, what we've done, we've added another variable, which is called jumping speed. And you might be thinking, well, can't we just use speed for, like the jump, same thing? But sometimes your speed and jumping speed can kind of sometimes need to be different, and you'll kind of see that how that works as we go along. And we've also got this new rigid body variable added in. So basically, when the code loads up, it will kind of recognize that our player, this player here, has this rigid body selected to it. 'Cause if it didn't have a rigid body, then we couldn't make a jump. Now in the update, we're getting the character to move to the right hand side, and this bit is basically saying, but when we press space bar, we want it to go up in the X position, so it's actually going to go up and down on the screen by that jumping speed, or that's the Y actually. No, sorry, yeah, it's still going to be moving to the right hand side on the X, but in the Y, because this is X and Y, it's going to jump up by the jumping speed. So if I save that and I go back onto our code, and then we should have jumping speed appearing here on the right hand side. And I think it will automatically get set to 0, but we're going to set it to 3. And the idea is now when I press play, my character is going to move to the right hand side. The speed is going to be really slow, but when I press space, it jumps. But the issue is I can keep pressing space, so we're actually almost like flying, like Flappy Bird. But I only want it so I can jump when I'm on the ground. So to change that, to correct our code, a couple of things we need to do on here. Let's go back onto my Word document, and we're going to add in a few things. So I'm going to copy this bit in. And this is one of our new variables at the top called grounded. So it's either true or false, it's a Boolean. And the idea will be when it's actually in contact with the ground. So that's basically when you press space, they will become false because we'll be in the air. So let's just add that bit in first. So if input.key, so that goes in there. And I want to add in that line which goes here as well. So that's going to go there. So basically this little bit basically says when we jump, grounded becomes false. But when we first start up, grounded automatically gets set to true if you haven't actually done it already. So we're on the ground. When we press jump, we jump. And when we're in the air, we're not actually on the ground anymore. So it's kind of false. So we can't keep jumping. And there is this little procedure I need to add at the end, which will basically say that if we are in contact with something which has the tag ground, then we can jump. It sets ground to true. So, and that's the reason why we basically set box colliders both on our player and on this here. Now, you might be thinking, well, what is this tag thing you're talking about? Now, our player, if I actually click on it, that's the main camera. I keep doing that, don't I? So our player, it isn't actually tagged at this stage, but it might actually just for time being set it as player because that might come in use at a later stage. And our ground, if I actually look at the ground because it's not tagged, there isn't anything called ground. So I'm going to add a tag and I press plus and I call it ground. And I need to make sure it's got a capital G as well because that's what it is on our code. It's very specific with that. And if I just click back on my ground and from the drop down now, I should be able to click on ground. So the idea is when I press play, I will move to the right as I did before. And when I press space, I should jump. And I'm still jumping. Why isn't that working? Let's go check out what's going on with that then. So I've got, let's see. Ah, my bad. The reason why is because this private void thing I just did here, I'm going to cut it out. It actually was in within the update area. So this update area here needs to be something which is separate. So make sure that that is separate to your void updates. You see the open and close brackets. This comes as a separate thing. So ultimately, you'll have three procedures altogether. You'll have awake, you'll have update, and you should also have this on collision enter 2D bit, which is the ground bit we were just talking about. So if I save that and I go back, I won't have any red error messages. If you have any red error messages down here, it basically means something's wrong in your code and it'll give you an idea of what it is you need to go and have a look at. But this time now when I press play, because I haven't had any issues, as I said, I'll move to the right hand side, I'll press jump, and I am continuously pressing jump, but it's only letting me jump up when I'm actually on the ground. So that's jumping sorted. Right then, next video, we're going to get the camera to follow our player across the screen. Hi, Future Rob here. Now, if you want your character to rotate as you're jumping, then watch on. Otherwise, just carry on and watch the next video. Right then, couple of things to sort out. Our player, we've got the movement kind of set up from the previous part of the video. I've set my speed and my jumping speed to those, but by all means adjust yours if you need to. And something I want to point out as well, on the rigid body, try adjusting the gravity scale so it goes up from 1. I've put on 4 for mine, so you actually jump and fall quite quickly, because otherwise when you jump you kind of end up being stuck in the air for ages. Now, something for you to play with, and maybe look at these other bits like mass as well, and see what that does for you then. But regarding the script, so our script currently looks like this. So we've got it so we are moving to the right, we are pressing space when we're on the ground, and we can jump, and we've got this kind of check whether or not we're still on the ground to stop us from flying. Now, the blue lines here are the bits we need to add in if we want to make our character rotate as it's in the air then. So I know in the very first video, the getting started video, the movement video, I said to get rid of these lines, but we've got to bring those ones back in, otherwise this won't work. Within our jump-in area of the code, so within our update of the codes, let's see where we to. So within update, before we actually do any kind of jumping action, we're going to put this line in there. And the 90 references the amount of spin you do. So you could do that as 180, 270, 360. In fact, anything up to 360 if you want to kind of play around with that bit as well. And at the very end here, after our on collision enter procedure, we're just going to bring in across this chunk of code here. And I'm not going to go through line by line explaining what they do, but all I can say is when it works, you might want to kind of play around with the float duration bit. So basically, you can choose how long it's actually going to be spinning in the air for and that type of thing. But again, that's for you guys to play around with. But the idea is once you've put that in, and you've actually chose the amount of degrees you want it to spin, and you've also put those two lines at the top. If you press save and we go back to our game, it'll let us know if we've done anything wrong. So it'll be red writing down in the bottom left hand side. But the idea is now when I press play and I press jump, which is my space bar, I will rotate by the 90 degrees. So this is minus 90 degrees. So if you wanted to rotate backwards, you would just put 90. If you wanted to do a full rotation, then you'd change it to 360 or whatever it is you want to play around with. Anyway, on to the camera control video.